OTAs continue to go on out in Berea, and we've gotten a look at some of the veterans, some of the rookies. Mason Graham, who signed his contract yesterday, doing some bag and agility work. Let's welcome in Jake Burns from BrownsFilmBreakdown.com. Jake, it's kind of interesting, and we'll look at some of the video of some of the guys here as we talk about it, but 7-on-7, 7-on-9s, 11-on-11s, shells, not really any pads, so it's tough to get really excited about what you see, but it is everybody on the team together.
Yeah, except for, I think there's some select veterans. Miles is
right
doing some trips. Listen, there's seasoned veteran guys who've been around the league long enough that you if they're not fighting for a job, it's okay for them to keep the batteries fresh, right? I think you'll get varying opinions on that, but I certainly don't have an issue with it so much as like, hey, Miles, man, line up at the 9 technique here and get after the quarterback or take on a pulling guard. I think he can handle those jobs. Almost 30 years old now, but yeah, no, it's good. It's good. It's a good chance for them to get together. I'm especially like, where I'm at with it, and this might differ from some other people, but where I'm at with it is I'm most concerned about the offense coming together, quarterback timing, catching the football from left-handed young quarterback. You know what I'm saying? There's a little bit of variation there. They're putting in new wrinkles that I think are going to relate a little more to what Kevin's done in the past with some of those guys who are here now, especially the running backs, some of the quarterbacks, and Jerry Jeudy wasn't here for that last year of Kevin really anchoring play calling and design. So there's a lot of new stuff they're getting down. So I especially like that most of the offense is intact in place and in working together, because I think there's so much that needs to happen there for them to get into the best place possible to just be a conducive group. Like we think about last year, we saw so many mistakes on illegal motions and different things that were just minor setup issues that were so often plaguing them. So I want them to get as many reps for the mental side of it. I know that we had talked off air a little bit about, the lack of pads, and somehow, the NFL has worked in such reverse from that, idea that they used to have. And I get it. The season's longer than it's ever been. The athletes are stronger. The injuries can certainly, accumulate. But where I'm at with it is, if that's the case, which is whatever, that's fine. It's so important to get the mental stuff down here, the timing stuff down here, so when the pads go on, when you have to think less and react more, you don't have to think, right? You know where you're supposed to go, you know where you're supposed to be, and you know where you're supposed to be and on time and all of that stuff. So I think this is obviously not the most important part of the offseason, but I do think it still carries a real segment of importance for so many guys on the offensive side of the ball. Now, Jim Schwartz defense, most of the people in the organization are returning on that side of the football. You do have some additions, like we said, a couple really important additions there with Mason Graham and Carson Schlesinger. We'll see how those guys handle it, but it seems like they're both really smart players, and I think they should adapt pretty well. I don't think this defense is the most tricky to pick up in terms of some defenses have a lot of checks, a lot of zone match, a lot of pattern matching, and you're passing off routes and some of that really tricky stuff for a linebacker, but there's not as much of that. They like to play, like we said, very regimented zone coverages. I've talked about over the years with you guys here with Jim Schwartz approach, and then a lot of man coverage, which is very defined. So it's just cleaning up technique more so than, hey, we need to communicate and pass off this route combo or do something that involves a bit more intricate next level thinking. So you feel good about that. And then for Mason, it's just going through the reps, knowing what they want him to do. It's a different approach to defensive line than what Michigan had, where they're going to ask him to be a bit more vertical upfield, just, pursue upfield, shoot gaps, disrupt, instead of maybe maintain, hold down a run fit or hold down 2 bodies so that we can keep a linebacker free. That's a huge difference in the approach that Jim takes to defense, which is like, hey, man, I want my defensive ends wrecking havoc upfield. You're playing the run on the way to the quarterback, and we'll have the linebackers, as Jason Tarver talks about all the time, clean it up. So I'm not so worried about defense. I think that they are at the baseline and average group and should be fine. And then to me, it's just about, if you want to know whether the Browns win some ball games this year, it's what kind of performance do they get out of this offense as compared to the last 2 seasons of struggles.